Hello and welcome. This is Jadwiga again, your fairy tale teller. Today I brought you a fairy tale called Puss in Boots. And we probably all thought, me included, that this was a fairy tale by the Grimm brothers. But originally it was written by Charles Perrault, who lived 150 years earlier, and the brothers Grimm just adopted his story. Now listen to Cat in Boots. Once upon a time there was a miller who left his eldest son the mill, the second son the donkey, but for the youngest son there was only a cat. Oh, the youngest son was very unhappy. He was weeping. He said, "My elder brothers, they have the mill, they have the donkey, they can make a living. But me, I just have a cat. That's worth nothing." Well, the cat heard this complaining and he gently tipped on his shoulder and said, "Listen, my master, there is no need to worry. Just give me a sack and a pair of high boots, and you will see." The young man was surprised. He scratched his ear. He never had heard a cat talking, and this is a strange wish he had. But, well, there is nothing to lose, he thought, and he gave this pair of boots and the sack to the puss. And he immediately walked to a space where he knew that a lot of rabbits lived around. There he opened the sack, put a handful of grain into it, and didn't have to wait for long until a rabbit came along, a curious one, looked into the sack, saw the grain inside, and hopped in. And immediately the puss tied the sack up and walked straight away to the king's palace. And there he handed this rabbit to the king and said, "This is a gift from my master, the Marquis de Carabas." "Oh, thank you very much," said the king. And from this day on, Puss started hunting. And whatever he got, pheasants or rabbits or hare or whatever, he brought to the king as a gift from the Marquis de Carabas. The king was very pleased and thought this must be an interesting man. Now one day, when the puss was in the castle, he overheard the servants talking about that this afternoon the king and his beautiful young daughter were going for a ride along the river. And Puss hasted home to his master and said, listen, this is the day your luck is made. Just run down to the river and take a bath." "Why that?" "Don't ask, just do it." Well, and the young boy obeyed. He went down to the river, took off his clothes, and took a swim. Now the cat took his clothes and hid them behind a bush so that nobody could find them. And when he heard the carriage of the king approach, he ran to the road and cried, "Oh, help, help, my master, the Marquis of Carabas, is going to drown." "What?" said the king. "The Marquis of Carabas? That's not possible." And he sent 2 servants down to the river to rescue the Marquis. "And bring him here," he said. Oh no, my king, this is not possible. I'm so sorry, but thieves have stolen his clothes. He has nothing to dress on." "Ah, no problem," said the king. And he sent another servant back to the castle to get some of his own dressings. Now, dressed in royal garments. Oh, the miller's son looked really royal. He was a handsome young marquis. And no wonder the princess immediately fell in love with him. And the miller, the marquis, also did so with the princess. The king invited him to come with him, and Puss ran ahead, and he saw people haying, and he said, "Listen, the king is coming, and if he asks to whom this field belongs, you say this belongs to the Marquis of Carabas, and if you don't, you will be cut in small pieces." And then he ran further and found people harvesting. And he said, "Listen, the king is coming. When he asks you to whom this field belongs, you say it belongs to the king of Carabas, or you will be cut into tiny pieces." And so he ran on, and everywhere spread this message. And when the king came and asked the people, "To whom belongs this field, this meadow, this forest, this lake?" whatever, people answered, "It belongs to the Marquis of Carabas." And the king was very impressed and congratulated the Marquis to his wonderful land. Now, at the end of the road, there stood a beautiful, mighty castle. And this belonged to an awesome ogre, the real owner of all this land along the river. And Puss went straight towards him and said, "Oh, you great ogre, I have heard so much talking about your incredible magical skills that I came here to see it with my own eyes." "Oh, what do people tell about my magical skills?" "Oh, well, they say you can become any animal you want. For example, a lion. Is that possible?" "Sure," said the ogre. "Wait." And whoosh, he became a lion, and Puss was very afraid and went up the rafters. And only after the ogre had turned into his original form, Puss came down and said, "Wow, this is really amazing. I can't believe what I saw. You're a great magician. But you know, people also said that you are able to become a tiny little animal, just like a spider or a mouse." "And I'm sorry, I can't believe that." "What?" said the ogre. "Wait." And whoosh, he became a mouse. And what did Puss do with a mouse? Right, he ate that mouse. And when shortly after the king arrived, Puss opened wide the door and said, "Welcome in my master's castle." And lucky enough, the ogre had invited guests for that night. So the table was full with delicious food. And after everyone had eaten, the king looked at the Marquis and said, "Marquis, I wish you to become my son-in-law." He was overjoyed, and the princess as well, so the wedding was held the same day. And Puss became their prime minister. Puss in Boots.